Is XRP going on the offensive? We're going to take a look at some evidence today that it appears to be so. Some really interesting stuff, breakdown that I found and did a little fact checking on just to make sure everything's on the up and up. And we're going to get into that today on today's Frugal BC. By the way, guys, if you like this stuff, please hit that like and subscribe button. Now, remember, you don't have to smash it. You can just press it gently. It works just fine that way too. And since this is a non-Algorand video, we are brought to you by Non-Fungible Domains. I just want to give a brief shout out to them and to Marcus Aurelius. So check out both of those in the description below. Also, we have channel memberships starting at only $1. Definitely check that out for various benefits, including exclusive videos at higher tiers. Check all that out. And let's get to this XRP news, because I saw this thread and, sometimes I see this stuff and I think, well, someone's just kind of glazing the chain a little bit. But actually, there's a lot to this. I think this is really interesting. And so I want to break this down. I want to go through it. I did some fact checking just to make sure it's on the up and up, and it appears to be. So we will dive into this story right now. This comes from Max Avery, who claims to be the most interesting Max in the world. That's an interesting statement. He might be. Who knows? I don't know. My grandpa was actually named Max. Anyway, Max says Ripple isn't playing defense anymore. They're going full offense mode. I would say offensive mode, actually, but with massive acquisitions, strategic partnerships, and service rollouts to shape how traditional finance meets crypto. And I think this is really interesting. For the first one, in April 2025, Ripple acquired Hidden Road for $1.25 billion. That's a lot. That's a B, by the way. And I know sometimes, these big numbers start to kind of blend together, but that is a lot of money, which means they have a lot of money, which is pretty interesting. This was strategic positioning, and the purchase secured a U.S. broker-dealer license, opening direct access to regulated markets and institutional flow. Very interesting. Brad Garlinghouse confirmed Ripple will continue to invest aggressively for acquisition and expansion. Ripple's already impressive valuation. The message is clear that they plan to prioritize growth and market control. Acquisitions lay the groundwork, but Ripple's broader strategy depends on integration. Its partner network is growing into a full financial ecosystem built to scale and operate. By the way, it is true, yes, Ripple acquired prime brokerage firm Hidden Road. That's a brokerage firm, making one of the largest deals in the digital asset space. I think that's interesting. I don't know if he talked about that. Yeah, he didn't mention that this is one of the largest deals in the digital asset space altogether. That's noteworthy in and of itself. This seems like a Mark Zuckerberg, let's just buy everything strategy, which I think is really interesting because, well, it's worked out pretty good for Meta. They're one of the 7 big players in the S&P 500, the ones that's moving the needle. If you take companies like Meta and Nvidia out, those top 7 FANG companies, the rest of the S&P looks like pretty flat. Still a little bit up, but like not nearly the gains that we've seen. So some important things here, because I think it's worth breaking out. Strategic acquisition. This positions Ripple's offer a wide range of institutional grade services, including clearing, financing, and prime brokerage across asset classes. So that's what this is actually the most important part here, which I don't know that he necessarily talked about. This brings a lot of these traditional banking type services to Ripple. I think that's a big deal. Also, XRP, the ledger, they're going to put their post-trade operations on the ledger, which is pretty cool, and RLUSD integration. Big deal. So yeah, I think this is the kind of stuff like maybe people don't, if you're a retail investor, you might not get as excited about this, but I call this like the boring but important stuff. And this is definitely in that class of stuff that really moves the needle and makes a difference. But let's go on. He says, in July, Ripple linked with OpenPaid. This tie-up connects RippleNet to fiat payment rails, enabling real-time cross-border flows and paving the way for RLUSD expansion. Also true, here's the announcement from OpenPaid. Ripple and OpenPay partnered to deliver enterprise-ready stablecoin and payment infrastructure. So payments is a big thing. I'm really excited when I see these partnerships. Algorand has its Parawallet payment coming up, its Paracard coming up with MasterCard, already available in some countries, just not the US yet. Definitely waiting for that. This partnership enables businesses to move and manage money globally, access stablecoin liquidity flows at scale, and simplify cross-border payments payments, treasury flows, and dollar-based operations. Interesting because Stacey Warden was just talking about how the Algorand blockchain could be, for example, an easy way for the UN to move money between all its subsidiaries without relying on the bank, which is, it takes like 2 days versus seconds. I mean, the flow of money, the velocity of money is really important. It's one of crypto's biggest use cases that people kind of forget about. It's like the fact that you can move money very quickly. And frankly, I don't think it's been taken advantage of enough as it should have been by now. I always think like, okay, great, you're building a new centralized exchange or decentralized exchange or another DeFi platform. How about a platform that allows people to really simply just move money between accounts and does it cheaply? Like, that would be awesome. That would be I think that would be a killer app. You could even charge a small fee and it would still be cheaper than like Western Union, but you just need it just needs to be an intermediary that people don't even like think about. They're not even thinking about, oh, this is crypto. The crypto just works in the background. That's the way I see it. And then this one I want to highlight too. In Dubai, Ripple joined Control Alt and the Land Department to tokenize 16 billion in real estate titles on the XRP ledger. Blockchain meets property rights at scale. Also true. That was just recently, July 16th. And so I think this is worth talking about because I have mixed feelings on tokenization. I think it's a really cool idea. I think in practice, it can be difficult to execute. As I said with Lofty AI, it's been a challenge. I haven't liked it from an investor's standpoint. They've been very successful. It's one of the few companies built on Algorand that is in profit, or at least is talking about being in profit. They're making money month over month, so that's good. They charge a lot of fees, which I think is part of why they make so much money. You get fees when you buy, you get fees when you sell. But what I found, they introduced an automatic market maker, and suddenly your tokens were subject. The value was dictated by the market maker and not the increasing value of property, which, property values have been skyrocketing pretty much everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in the Midwest or the West Coast or everywhere property values have pretty much been skyrocketing, but you're not really able to take advantage of that if the automatic market maker is the one determining the price, and the price ends up being like half of what you paid for it. So I sold off a lot of the properties because I've just been trying to unwind it. And a lot of the properties, I got like half my money back, despite the fact that the underlying property actually increased in price. So some challenges to this. It's not an easy, I'm not super convinced that it will be good for consumers, I guess is what I'm saying. But on the other hand, some of the stuff like, I'm talking about like tokenized investing in real estate, but just the idea of like more easily being able to do stuff with like mortgages and having them be on chain, that can make it a lot easier for transfers, things like that. So there's a lot of like infrastructure things where this could be really useful. But as far as like an actual project that you would invest in, I'm not super convinced on that. But I don't think they should ignore it either. Let's just go through the rest of this. So tokenized real estate enables fractional ownership. And I just highlighted the problems with that. The deal aligns with Dubai's D33 economic vision and adds blockchain to the city's financial infrastructure. One of the other issues with this, by the way, is that like the vast majority of my properties were not paying rent at any given time. Usually it was around half, and I was very surprised about that because that absolutely cuts, because I was thinking cash flow is kind of cool. That just like super cuts into your return. I would actually rather just own an REIT, honestly, and maybe they can make one. There might be a way to do that where you just I don't know. I think it's a better model than actually owning property. I've definitely, that's one thing I definitely changed my mind a lot. Anyway, in May, Reese Merrick's work proved very fruitful as Ripple secured a DFSA license and signed Zan Bank and Mamo in the UAE, it's the United Arab Emirates. Expansion to the Gulf is operational and in progress. From Alchemy Pay integrations to Mercy Core pilots in Colombia, each use case links crypto tech to practical local solutions. Ripple is now part of a BIS initiatives around CBDC payment rails. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of those. Stablecoins, yes. CBDCs, I'm glad that the White House is putting a stop to those because you don't want the government to be able to control your money. That's like antithetical to the whole crypto project. Ripple's work with MasterCard smooths global transactions. Legacy institutions now lean into crypto native systems for cross-border efficiency. Yeah, MasterCard really getting into crypto lately. Have you noticed that? because we got the Para wallet partnership where you can basically buy things with your Para wallet on Algorand, and now you have this. I think they were doing something with Hedera too, I just can't remember. RLUSD surpassed $50 million in market cap and processes nearly 1 billion monthly. Well, that's a lot. It's among the top 20 stablecoins and gaining traction fast. BNY Mellon manages custody. RLUSD meets EU MiCA rules and connects with US Fedwire, and it's built for institutional scale with a top rating from Blue Chip. Yeah, MiCA rules. Algorand is also one of the ones. Their EURD, I think it's called, is also MiCA compliant. XRP payments launched in 6 new countries in May 2025. Cool. Ripple is targeting global remittance corridors valued at over $685 billion. And by the way, in the backdrop of all this, XRP has hit new all-time highs, which I'm sure investors are very happy about. Tokenization efforts are backed by BCG Research. XRP features and ETFs are now live on CME and NASDAQ. Definitely those are a big deal. I want to see more ETFs. I think it's, people wonder why don't you just hold the coin? Well, because there's a lot of mom and pop, your mom and dad or your grandma and grandpa, depending on how old you are not gonna, they're just not going to buy crypto. They don't even want to buy it, but they might want, they're not going to buy like on a centralized exchange. That's too much for them. But some of them like the idea of having exposure to some degree to this, and the ETFs allow for that. And they're good for everybody because they mean more inflows. In March, Portugal went live with XRP transfers via Unicambio. Cross-border flows improved quickly. Here's the scale. Ripple's reached 100 plus institutions piloting XRP, 20 plus using it for real-time liquidity, 80% of Japanese banks adopting the Ripple infrastructure. Well, that's really big. Adoption is now quantifiable because Japan has a very highly regulated, well, everything. Everything is very highly regulated in Japan. And for them to adopt that like that says a lot. Adoption is now quantifiable. Institutions transacting at this level move serious capital, and they're choosing Ripple. We're almost done here, guys. Each move reinforces the next. Acquisitions add infrastructure, partnerships open markets, service deliver utility. The strategy builds on itself. And this is a really important point, by the way, guys, because people will say, oh, well, the news, these partnership news doesn't really move the needle, but you're looking at the news, the announcement of it. But the fact building all these partners, building the infrastructure, growing the market cap helps long term. It's really important. Legacy finance stalled on crypto over regulatory gaps and system fragmentation. Ripple is closing both piece by piece. They're not adjusting to demand. They're engineering the conditions that create it. Licenses, partnerships, real world utility come first. The moment is well timed. Institutional interest in blockchain solutions is rising, and Ripple now stands at the center of that shift. Ripple's approach reflects a core belief: don't react to market change, build for it. And that means moving first and moving decisively. So I think that's a really good breakdown, and it covers a lot of ground that I think is really important when evaluating a cryptocurrency long term. And I do mean long term. Yes, the short term price action has been great on XRP lately. And if you bought like a year and a half, 2 years ago, like I did, you're in pretty significant profits, which is awesome. But long term, I think XRP is doing a lot of the stuff behind the scenes that really matter. And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this. Too much of the talk around XRP is about the price. So I really appreciate Max Avery's breakdown here, because it's showing there's a lot of stuff, a lot of important stuff going on behind the scenes, and I think that matters. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about XRP, what you think about this this breakdown here, and all the things happening on the chain, because I think that's a big deal. And yeah, hope you're doing well out there. I'm Frugal BC, and I will see you in the future.